Congratulations. Whether you know it or not, you lived through a record-setting day the other day. We set a record for having an asteroid come closer to Earth than ever before without hitting us. Astronomers were watching an asteroid that was between 16 and 38 feet wide. It was traveling at about 30,000 miles an hour, get that, and it passed within 238 miles of the Earth's surface. Closest pass by an asteroid without hitting us in the history of tracking this stuff. Guess what day that happened? If you guessed Friday the 13th of 2020, you're absolutely right. When else would that have happened? Except on Friday the 13th of this year. Astronomers went on to say that there was no danger to us, so they didn't tell anybody about it before it happened, because really the atmosphere was going to protect us. If the asteroid got any closer to us, it would have just burned up and would have gone maybe into a few little chunks that hit the ground, but there was no real danger. We were protected. When I read the word protected, it twigged something else in my thinking, because lately I've heard that word used a great deal by people who are believers. People are talking a lot about God protecting them. I was on Facebook the other day and someone was praising God because they had been around someone who had coronavirus, and then they went and got tested and came back negative, and they said, "Ha! God protected me." And I think, what are we saying? I like the belief part of that, but I hate the theology of it. That theology is horrible. Because here's somebody rejoicing that God had protected them from the coronavirus. What about the guy who got it? Well, what does that say about him? What does that say about that guy and what God did for him? Take it away from coronavirus. That's kind of a hot topic right now. Let's talk about other things. What about believers who get cancer and die? Where's God's protection there? What about people who get in car crashes? Where's God's protection there? Let me be clear. I pray for the protection of my family. I pray for my kids every day that God would protect them. But I'm not naive enough to think that because I am good or they are good or we're faithful that they're never going to have trouble, that they're always going to be protected from everything. That's just crazy. That's never promised to us. If I run out to this street out here that's really, really busy, if I wait for a car to come and I run out in front of the car, I do not believe God is going to make the car disappear or make me levitate so the car goes under me. He's not going to protect me when I'm stupid. In fact, even Jesus, when the devil tempted him to go to the top of the pinnacle of the temple and jump off, and the devil said, if you jump off there, the angels will probably catch you. Even Jesus said, don't put your Lord, your God, to the test. Even Jesus wouldn't do that. I think God protects us. Ultimately, He protects our souls eternally. There's nothing that can touch that. God looks after us and God cares for us, but He also expects us to be wise. He also expects us to do our part. A real good example of that comes from Exodus chapter 14. The Israelites have been slaves in Egypt forever. Moses has gone and got them. The 10 plagues have happened. They're leaving and now they're out in the desert. And as they march away, they look ahead of themselves and they see the Red Sea there and they can't get across that. And they see the Egyptian army coming and they're going to get killed, they think. And they start complaining and yelling at Moses that we should have just left us alone. We're going to die out here. Moses stands up and says this to them in Exodus chapter 14, verse 13. Do not be afraid. Stand firm and you will see the deliverance the Lord will bring to you today. The Egyptians you see today you will never see again. The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still. He promises them, God will look after you. God will protect you. In fact, He says the Lord will fight for you. Just be still in your hearts. Just wait. God's going to look after this. Look at the very next verse. Verse 15, the Lord said to Moses, why are you crying out to me? Tell the Israelites to move on. Moses says God's going to fight for us, and God says to Moses, yeah, I'll fight for you, but you tell the Israelites to keep running away from the Egyptians. You tell them to keep running, keep moving on. God did fight for them. He opened the Red Sea and they got a way through, and the Egyptians they never did see again, just as promised. But they had to keep walking. They had to keep walking. They couldn't just sit there and let God save them. God was going to save them as they kept walking. Brothers and sisters, I'm all for being faithful and trusting God, and I've built my whole life on that belief that God looks after us and God is taking care of us. But let's just be careful about our theology. When we say God is looking after us and nothing bad will ever happen, what happens when something bad happens? Jesus said, in this life you will have trouble. God's protection is ultimately eternal. It's not always here, and when bad things happen here, good can come from it, but he will not always protect us from evil. Let's stop saying that.